Abulu. And so very briefly, I just want to record a short video about the importance of building a purposeful brand. And I'm just going to be sharing some of the things that I think really works for us in SA&A in terms of how we build a brand. Now, I'm a very big advocate of being intentional about how you build your brand. Why? Because I have seen how that has helped us as SA&A to, grow up into the kind of brand that we want to be. Everything has been intentional. And, to the glory of God, I look back now, even though it's just 5 years in, but I think the time that we took to actually think about what kind of brand we wanted to be, who we were, what we would do and what we would not do really meant a long way in terms of providing clarity for us, focus and direction in terms of what we should be doing. So a lot of the strategy and the frameworks that we share with clients and people that work with us or that we even teach in our courses is really sharing what we have used and how we've seen that value of taking that time to build your vision of what your brand should be. Now, what I've noticed over time is that many people focus a lot on what they're doing, their processes, their operations, their services. They do not think too much about why they are doing that thing beyond just making money. And if you don't sit down to do that reflection to ask yourself, why did I choose this type of business rather than another? It will be very difficult for you to come up with a brand narrative or a story that is compelling, that now lends itself to impact storytelling. By the time you are looking for either you want to tell either it's your impact storytelling story, or you want to tell your product story, or you want to tell your service story or your operational story, you are struggling for words because there is no story behind the story. There's no backstory. And every brand requires a backstory. If you notice all those prominent brands, there's always an origin. It was started by so and so, who was this and who was that. Coca-Cola has an origin story. All of the big brands, they have an origin story. And most of the time, when you read that origin story, is very far removed from what the brand or the business is doing today, particularly for those that are like a century-year-old. But this origin story never changes. The values that the company upholds never changes. It's the common thread that connects the past, the history of the brand, to current day and to the future. But somebody has to sit down. Imagine if that person who started it out never wrote anything down, never talked about what their values are. What do you pass on to the next generation? So for me, building a brand is about thinking very carefully about what you want that brand to be and also what you do not want it to be. Also thinking about the mission, the purpose, and the values. What do you believe? How do you see the world? What's your vision of the world? For instance, do you see yourself as a leading brand within Nigeria, a particular country, within the continent, within a region? Do you want to be a household name? Those are, what do you want to be known for? Because that then drives how your employees, the focus of the organization. But when you have not given them anything, and that's the problem. Many of us are in business just for the sake of making money, which is why we don't have a brand narrative. And really, you cannot come to me and say, oh, I just want to make money. That's not a sellable story. Because then you're a scam artist. There's nothing that it has to be, the passion has to come through. So I would always advocate, and I've seen a lot of people starting off with their businesses and they think this is what we're going to do. It may take time, but it is worth taking that time to invest in the why. Why am I doing this? What differentiates my brand or this business or this initiative from that which others have done or are doing? Why should anybody listen to me? So if you're able to articulate that so what, like for us in SA&A, we're very clear about what our brand differentiation is. We're a strategy and communications training and consulting firm that is dedicated to enabling businesses, brands, and institutions to achieve their desired outcomes through strategic communications, organizational effectiveness, and reputation risk management. It took me 18 months to come up with that line. But I found out that everything that we do in our training and in our consulting app ties into all of those things. It is enabling you to achieve your objectives through either communications on one hand, or reputation risk management, which is all the crisis management, the crisis training, or organizational effectiveness, where helping you to teach you or helping you to drive your objectives internally using communications as an enabler, change management, culture change, all of that. There's nothing that comes to our table as SA&A that does not fit into that statement. But it took us 18 months to craft it. So we have a lot of evergreen messaging that will not change, that was developed in 2020 when we started out, which is still valid till today, and it's our North Star. It keeps us focused. It makes us know what we should be doing at any point in time. Our path is clear to us. But why? Because we have a mission, we have values, we have a purpose. And that purpose is not just about making money. That's why even if you bring money and you ask us to do something that we do not do, we will tell you, no, we do not do this. And we recommend people that we believe you can work with. Why? Because we are values driven. What does that do for us? It makes us a trusted brand because people can realize it's not just about money for SA&A. That then becomes a differentiator to us. SA&A will only take on your job if they know that they can help. And if they take on your job, there will be value. You will get what a promise delivered. That's our brand narrative. That's our brand promise. So I ask you, what is your brand promise? What is your brand purpose? What are your brand values? What is your brand mission? What is your brand story? What is your brand differentiator? If you cannot answer me those questions in one line, then sorry, you still have work to do.